The cost of attending particularly private four-year education is out of the reach for a lot of folks. Even here, how does this affect us locally? I believe that we are not going to see the Michigan scholarship, the Michigan tuition grant available anymore. That means for our friends at Spring Arbor University, they're going to be out about $3 million. For Baker College up the road a bit, pretty close to that, about $2.8 million, they're going to be out locally. And that's aid that's not available for students, and so where are they going to look to go? Chances are they're going to look where they can get a college education but not have to spend as much. And so that, I believe, has the effect that we're seeing now, increasing stresses on the pocketbook, the checkbook, the billfold, whatever you want to call it, and I think that's buoying up the enrollments that we're seeing as well. Retirement, people are realizing because of portfolios and so forth, they're hanging around longer. So we're finding individuals who are coming back. One of the things we've talked about in corporate and continuing education is maybe some kind of a post-retirement training program where we help individuals re-career, kind of senior re-careering, if you will, helping individuals who can't afford to retire because of the loss of their portfolio or perhaps some enterprising companies made off with it, or whatever the case might be. Suffice it to say that they don't have enough to retire on, they don't have enough to pay for health care. And so they're thinking about working longer. And what does that mean? It could represent a need for us to get more involved in retraining of individuals who've perhaps been away by a generation or two from the active work environment. And how do we help them? And how do we help employers understand how to work with seniors? So they've got the kind of the continuum from the Generation X and Ys all the way up to the baby boomers who are retired, and how do we as a community college respond to that? Health, it hasn't been a day of discussing health, but it would suggest here that despite even some of the data we heard today, that we're not taking care of ourselves very well. And that's part of the reason I had the conversation with you to start off as I did, and that is taking care of ourselves. It's not that we're all drinking and smoking a whole lot. It's the fact that we're under incredible stress, and we have incredible life issues and family issues that we're dealing with. And so from my point of view, kind of a custodian here, I see a responsibility in making sure that we're taking care of you, that the organization is taking care of you and giving you a chance to breathe, to take those deep breaths so that we remain healthy. And so for me, in addition to thinking about what health care costs are overall for our institution, making sure that you're at your best by giving you the opportunities for you to be at your best and not packing more and more on your backs to accomplish. The income issue, as mentioned here, is pretty challenging. We've got significant challenges with regard to income and income changes. I'm kind of shocked right now at seeing what's happening with the banking industry and some of the changes. I don't know how many of you read the Wall Street Journal, but significant changes occurring in the banking industry, and they're almost responding as if nothing's wrong. There are a lot of people that continue to be out of work or underemployed. In Michigan, if you look at our unemployment rate overall, it's pretty significant. I got some data here for you, but suffice to say, we're well into the 20s with totally realized unemployment, counting those individuals who are unemployed, underemployed, or have stopped looking. And that is very, very challenging and affects, I think, this information with regard to incomes overall. The last 2 points here is spending. People are getting more serious about what their priorities are. So maybe rather than having 2 satellite dishes getting down 5,000 channels, maybe I can live with a lesser charge there. Maybe I don't need to go out every night and party with my friends. I had an interesting conversation a couple weeks ago with a couple of students down in the cafeteria. We had students talking about how to put a budget together, and we were kind of talking about how you do that. And it was amazing to me anyway about how few students had personal finance classes in high school. So they seemed ill-equipped to me to be able to figure out, well, I've got this much money coming in, I want to get a college degree, but I also want to do all these other things. I want to go out with my friends, I want to live in this kind of a nice apartment, whatever the case might be. And so having a hearkening back to the realities of the income and how that we have to live within our means is an important discussion that I think we share. The personal finance classes that we offer here are one way, and I know at the local schools are trying to share that information as well. And then, of course, the wealth overall. The final point here about the challenges we face there, attempting to regain any lost ground that we might have and a variety of issues here. I think that the implications for our institution overall are going to be for us anyway, to first of all be empathetic and understand where people are and try to talk to them about the services that we can provide. How can we help them? We have a great partnership with South Central Michigan Works. There are other agencies that we can dial people into as we try to address these issues overall. I promised you some data here, so really quickly let me just run through this. This is the unemployment rates for previous recessions and looking about where we are now. We have, I think, technically come out of the recession, but it is not moving at a very quick pace, that's for sure. And I think that for us anyway, the restoration of this is going to be protracted. This isn't something that we're out of the recession according to the economists, and we're going to be back into good times in 2 or 3 years. I don't think that's ever going to happen. At least the data, the economics tell me that we are going to be 6, 8, 10 years climbing out of this thing and will not be restored to the way we were before we entered into this recession. New models, new economic models, new ways of living and working and thinking about our future, even for education, are going to be required. The unemployment rates, as I've mentioned here, this is a Michigan labor statistic here. It's not been seasonally adjusted, but you get a sense of what that's looking like beginning for those in the back. Far on the left side is January of 08 and August of 09 for that which we have the most complete data. But you continue to see the escalation. Shouldn't be a surprise for you there. With regard to other federal matters, you know, and Dr. Rebecca Woods, who's doing a lot of our grant writing, and I've been talking back and forth about when is AGI going to be available. The American Graduates Initiative the Obama administration's been talking about. We're just waiting on the launch pad to be able to go after some of that federal money that is out there. But I have found out as recent as today that it doesn't look like that's going to happen until February for obvious reasons. We've got the healthcare issue that I mentioned. But for me, this is the big one. This is the one that we can go after to be able to provide instructional equipment, be able to assist us with curriculum development, help us with individuals who may have some deficiencies in learning. As I mentioned, I talked with Congressman Schauer last week and looking for ways to even consider set-asides. If we're going through the front door, can I go through a side door? What are ways we can generate more revenue for our institution to be able to help out overall? Other bills that are out there, the ADA, I think, has still got to have some work done related to it, and the FELP program, direct student loans. We continue to push, and we've had some gain. We've had some modest increases in Pell, for example, but it is not keeping up with inflationary adjustments for tuition and fees. It's not keeping up with falling off in other areas, for example, like in Michigan, the Michigan Promise, which is no longer available. The Omnibus Appropriations Bill, which I mentioned, gives us a little bit of breathing room with our students who are fully dependent on support, and so the maximum going to $55.50. If we can get the dislocated worker training programs to be moved forward, that's additional funding that's available there, and older worker training. There are some other bills out there, including the Main Street Job Act. There are others that are out there that we're waiting to get going. As I mentioned, some of the workforce bills, I think, will simply be pulled out and asked to be extended for another year. A little bit more closer to home here, we'll take a look at the local perspective and what we're facing here coming from state of Michigan. You get a sense of where we are. Jackson is in the blue line at the top, and then Lenawee is the middle line, and the bottom line here is Hillsdale. And beginning with the fourth quarter in 04 and the fourth quarter in 08. Housing unit estimates seem to be fairly stable as you look at all three counties in terms of where they are. Let's go on to the next statistic. Job separation seems to be a little bit more dramatic, particularly for Lenawee County. Again, moving for the first quarter of 2008 through the third of 2008. Population estimates. We're seeing a little bit of a dip here. These scales are